Hi, everybody. It's Colleen Pearl, the Cool Crone, and today I have my very dear friend Shari.hinkel with me from Voices from the Swamp. And what we're going to do is take a look at her natal horoscope as if she were coming to me as a client to get a natal astrological reading. So, Sherry's been kind enough to say that it's fine to bare her soul in front of millions of people.
I'm an open book.
Yeah, but I don't have a million subscribers, so it's not going to be millions of
Hey,
people.
hey, positive thinking. Got to put that out there.
That's true, but it's the most important people who are going to see this. So there we have it.
There
All
you
right.
go.
And you're simulcasting on your channel too,
I
right?
am, but I pinned a message up on my chat board saying, "Hey, everybody, go to the Cool Crone. That's the chat we're in."
Oh, thank
So
you.
until Streamyard can fix it so that everybody can see everybody's chat, if you're sitting in my chat, then you're only going to see the people in my chat. You're not
Right,
going to see who's in yours, and
right.
you're not getting credit for those people showing up on my channel.
That's right.
I'm
That's
getting
right.
credit for them. So I would rather them pop into mine, see the thing, click like, then hop over to yours.
Yeah,
Um, I love the idea of simulcasting, but
yeah,
because it does kind of help get you out there, especially if you're just starting. But there are bugs they need to work out of the system. It's like I said, the chat thing doesn't do, and whoever's hosting the show is not getting credit for all the people that show up in somebody else's channel.
yeah. That's
Like
well.
Marina did a show with Linda G and Mel Dore,
Uh huh.
and she showed like 70 people in her chat
Uh huh.
that night, whereas Linda had over 2,000 in hers.
Yeah.
But Marina didn't get credit for those 2,000 because they
Nope.
were over on Linda's channel.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's bugs to be worked out. They need to credit,
Yeah.
work with YouTube or whatever to figure out how to fix that. But
Yeah. But we are all a part of a pretty wonderful, loving, giving community. And my sister
yeah,
pointed out when we do this stuff with Cleo, right? And
right. I love
she
working with Cleo. She's great.
oh, thanks. And when we first started doing the simulcast, she was like, "Well, I don't want everyone to do that. Then they're not going to go to your channel." And I said, "Well, you know what though? You are benefiting from connecting with that person anyway. Let's just give it a shot." So I kept doing it, and what I have found, which is really cool, is yeah, I might not get as many views as the person with the bigger channel initially, but as time goes on, I get way more views than I ever would having
Yeah,
not done the show with them. Maybe not quite as many yet as when we did it all on one channel,
right.
but my subscribership going way up because of these simulcasts, and in
Good.
general my views are going up. So I I think you have to just trust. I think you have to
Well,
just
and that's
let
it. And
the
like I said, I'm still doing it, even though the it's like I like it, but I don't like the bugs that are in the system, and they really need to fix it.
yeah.
But that's cool. And so, like, I went to my chat first and said, "Hey, we're all over at the Cool Crone. Go over there." And that I did that the other night with uh last week, I guess it was. I was on somebody else's channel as a guest, and I did the
Yeah.
same thing because there was like 10 people in my chat, and they were like, "I don't see who it is you're talking to. Who are you talking?" I
Yeah,
was
that
like,
is a brilliant idea to put that in there. That's good. All right, well, let's get
"So
into your chart because there's a lot of stuff to talk about. So
yeah,
what I'm going to do so that everybody knows what's going on here is I'm going to put your chart up. You'll see my little face in the corner initially, and then I'm going to cut out my face and I'll just leave you on. I think I
you
can
can
do
put
that.
me in. You can make me little bitty and put me in the
Yeah,
corner.
I think I can do that, but it might end up just being the chart sometimes,
That's
and
cool too."
I'll manipulate that through OBS. So now let me change this to PowerPoint with the face and see what that looks like for you guys, and then let's make this. Let's see if we can do that. No, we can't do that. How about that one? How about this one? There we go.
There we
Okay,
go.
there we go. You can see it a little bigger. So this is your natal chart, and I got to refer to my copy down here because my eyes are not great. All right, so you
I look at that and it's all squiggly lines and gobbledygook. I don't know
well,
what it
that's all
means.
it is. It is just a bunch of squiggly lines and gobbledygook. But here, where you have the circle with the dot in the middle of it, that represents the sun. And you probably recognize this symbol because you are a Gemini and you've probably seen it a gazillion times everywhere. So
Yep.
the sun is in Gemini. That's the main thing. And you have the same birthday as my mother. Well, not the same year, but the same day.
Oh,
And
cool. Oh,
yeah,
really?
yes.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Isn't that cool? I know. I knew there was something about you I loved. so, so being a Gemini, communications are very, very important to you. And we're going to come back and talk a lot about that Gemini factor in a little bit. You have the moon in Aquarius, way
Hmm.
up here, and it's right next to Jupiter, which we call conjunct, meaning it is pretty much, are they on the exact same degree? Let's see, moon is at 8, Jupiter is at 7. Yeah, they're right on top of one another, which means that on the day that you were born, if we could see, now you're born in the middle of
Saturday.
the night. So when you were born in the sky, that moon and Jupiter probably looked humongous because when Jupiter lines up with another planet, it just makes it look really big because Jupiter's really big, so it reflects a lot of light. And so this is kind of a trait of your personality, especially with groups and being with friends, is that you illuminate and expand things in that group. And so that's another real key thing about you and your personality. Now you're rising, and I'm going to talk about all of this stuff much more in depth. I just want to give a little quick thumbnail overview right off the bat.
Okay.
Your rising sign is Aries, and you've got Venus in the first house. And you have a really big first house. So you've got a few planets in there, but they're asteroids. Venus is the important one. But see this itty bitty writing right here? This says Eris. Eris is the sister to Mars. So Eris is also a goddess of war, like Mars is a god of war. And Eris brings some chaos, but chaos in the name of achieving a goal. And Eris is usually the goddess that is at work when we find people who are challenging or being proactive for the rights of women in particular. And that
Oh, you froze. Oh no, Mercury retrograde. Am I frozen too, y'all, or is it just Colleen that froze? Let us know. Just Colleen froze. Okay. Thank you, Marina. I wasn't sure. Oh, and we lost her. Hi. I guess y'all got me to deal with. She'll be back in a minute. That's all right. Earlier, my sound wasn't going through, so it's like, oh yeah, it's Mercury retrograde. All right, we're just nothing's working. And then earlier we had what looked like was a really nasty thunderstorm building up and big black clouds and lightning and thunder and a little bit of rain, and then it just kind of moved on, and now we got blue skies again. So yeah, Colleen dropped off, so she's got to go back in. So let me check my email, make sure she didn't like send me a message or something. Um Okay. No, no messages. Okay. So, what would y'all like to know? Because I know nothing about astrology except that I'm a Gemini. And then last year I found out I had an Aquarius moon and Aries rising. I don't know what that means, but she'll explain that. Um, and Yeah, Marina, it was really hot yesterday, and then this morning it's not been cold, but cool. It cooler. So, but now that the storm clouds have moved on and the sun is out, it won't take long. There you are.
I'm back. I'm so sorry. I who knows what happened. Okay. So
It's retrograde.
where did you lose me? At Eris? I think we were talking about Eris.
Yeah, right around there.
Okay, so Eris is the sister to Mars. She's also a goddess of war. So it's very meaningful that you have Eris right next to the line that defines your rising sign, which is also in Aries, which is ruled by Mars. So you have a lot of this very assertive energy, very, very assertive. And yet there's quite a few things in your chart that cause you to hold back and not feel like you can put yourself out there and to speak up and things like that, especially when you were younger. I think that's something that over the years you've had to learn. And
Yes.
you've forced yourself to learn it because of this pushing from Eris. So, Eris, the goddess Eris, Eris, has been your advocate, your cheerleader, your whole life. You've had a little voice in your head going, no, Sherry, you can go ahead and do that. No, that's okay. Go ahead and do that. And then probably another part of you that's saying, oh, maybe not, maybe you're not, maybe you don't know enough about that, or
Nothing.
maybe even saying things like you're not, you don't deserve that even. So I mean, you could have
Yeah,
had
I'm
things
not
like
good
that.
enough. Yeah.
Yeah, because you got that Saturn thing going on in there, and we'll talk about that as well. So the three key things for your chart are your rising sign, your sun, and your moon. So we've basically laid that out. The sun is in the house for communications, and so talking in Gemini goes hand in hand. So talking to people, being able to talk to people, these are very important things for you and kind of your legacy, kind of what you are. The rising sign is Aries, so you like to be first, you like to be out there, you like to be the one who's leading the band. However, you also have a lot of this, well, at least in your early life, lack of confidence, basically, about some of those things. And your moon is in Aquarius. Now, Aquarius usually lends a feeling of much more confidence, and I think you've probably relied on that moon in Aquarius a lot in your life. So emotionally, you can convince yourself of things and push yourself to go out in front if it's for a good cause. If
Yeah.
there's a really good cause, if it clicks in with your principles, you can make yourself do anything. And that's kind of the short term or the shorthand map of your natal chart. Now, let me just point out a few other things. So we have this really interesting geometric shape in here, and it looks like a weird, like a, not an equilateral triangle. I don't know what the other names of the triangles are, but it's a shorter one than that. So we
Yeah.
have here we have Mercury and then Pluto. So Mercury, let me make sure I got this right. Yeah. So Mercury is at the very beginning of the sign of Cancer for the home, and it's also approaching and activating in the house that manages your home, that governs your domestic situation. So having the sign Cancer there, Cancer is the sign of the home. It's the sign of the mother. So your home, your house, the place where you raise your family is a place where you only want people in your home that you love and trust. You may really like being at home. You may really prefer entertaining from home rather than going to other places, but the people that you want to entertain have got to be people that you trust and love, and that's it. So you'd rather have a party of 5 than a party of 50 if you thought that a
Oh yeah.
bunch of you know whats are going to show up to your party. And so this Mercury is operating more in terms of thinking about your family, thinking about your children, your I don't know if you have siblings, but if you do, you'd think about your siblings and your parents and things like that. So that's very, very important to you. And it's something that you think about a lot. And it's something that you kind of prepare your home to take care of just in case. Just in case so and so needs a room, I'm going to have a place for them.
Well, I
So
have a
you
brother and he lives with me, so
there you go. So you're always kind of taking care of that family dynamic. And Mercury has a tendency to represent siblings. It is the kind of the planet that will kind of stand in for a sibling from time to time. And you've got it right there in your house. So that
yeah,
makes a lot of
we
sense.
all live together. Me, my son, who's an Aquarius, and my brother, who's Virgo, and my nephew, October 27th. Isn't that Libra?
That would be Scorpio.
Scorpio. Okay, so that's who's in the house.
Wow. You have a full house, a
And
very
my
full.
mother was a Sagittarius, so before she passed, she was in the
She
house
lived.
too. So
Yeah, yeah. Oh, interesting. Very, very interesting. Now, Pluto is another part of this configuration, and Pluto is in early Virgo up here. So, Mercury and Virgo are just 2 signs away from each other. That means they're about 60 degrees away from each other. Now, both of these planets, Mercury and Virgo, have a very strange configuration and relationship with the moon and with Jupiter, because remember, these two planets are almost right on top of each other. They're only 1 degree apart from each other. So they're basically right on top of each other. So
gotcha.
from Mercury to your moon is about 150 degrees. So we measure things in astrology usually in 30-degree increments because we're working on a circle, which is 360 degrees. And when things like a full moon happen, it means the sun and the moon are right across from each other in the sky, which is 180 degrees or 6 signs away, right? This is 150 degrees. So it's kind of weird. It's 5 signs away for both of these planets to hit your sun and, or excuse me, your moon and Jupiter. And this weird aspect is called a quincunx. And it causes the energies of these planets to feel awkward and uncomfortable with each other. And so, what we have here is an uncomfortability between your mind and your communications and your emotions. And by the way, the moon also relates to your home. So, I'm sure that at many points in your life, even though you're very happy to provide this home for everybody, I'm sure there have been moments of uncomfortability and issues of uncomfortability that you have had to work out,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
especially especially with the mother, probably with the brother, maybe with your father, but definitely there are issues there. And this quincunx, and it also involves Pluto. Pluto is also 150 degrees away from these two planets, and Pluto is very close to your north node. So now we're beginning to involve your sense of destiny, of legacy, of what's my mission, what's my purpose here on earth. And it's very intense for you because the planet Pluto makes everything more intense, makes it very, very um, just intense, just passionate, just so much stuff. Now, this feeling of uncomfortability, I think, is also related to your physical well being because Pluto is in the house for your physical well being, the sixth house. So, and in the sign of Virgo, which is a sign of taking care of one's body, the routine of taking care of one's body. So, you have Pluto here in a very uncomfortable situation with the moon and Jupiter. Jupiter is exaggerating all of these things having to do with your everyday life, with your domestic situation, It's also, by the way, Jupiter can multiply things. So you have multiple family members who are not just your children living with you. So that's in there, that's coming out of your chart. But also the physical reality of having to deal with a very painful situation in your life. And if it wasn't physical, it would be emotional, and maybe it's still both. Because Pluto is giving you very, very intense, uncomfortable, and awkward feelings opposite your moon and Jupiter. And your Mercury there, I'm sure you've done a gazillion hours of research on all of the things that have affected you and tried very, very hard to understand it and to live through it and to ease it up and to make it better. And Pluto you will overcome eventually, but it is a part of your contract in this lifetime, a part of your life lesson to figure out how to deal with this emotionally, and also to how to deal with all of your family living with you and still feel like you're worth it, you're good enough, you're a good person, you deserve more, you deserve some of this, a lot of this energy to also come back to you and to feed your soul. So this is a very intense lifetime that you've chosen this time around. I know that your injuries occurred very early in your life. And again, this is all part of this yod, this geometrical pattern that you have in your chart. The yod is also known as the finger of God. And so when we see that in somebody's chart, we know that, well, this is an important lifetime. This is a lifetime where the person decided they needed to learn some very, very specific and important lessons for their soul development, for them to go on to the next level.
Okay.
So this yod colors everything in your chart. It colors everything in your life. So now I'm going to go on and talk a little more in detail about everything else in your chart. Okay. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, we got all that stuff. Okay, so we'll go on to this. All right. So let's go back to your ascendant. So an Aries ascendant is always a person who has a free spirit. Yes, they want to be first and they want to lead people and stuff, but more than that, they don't want anybody telling them what to do. They want to do it themselves. They want to discover it. They want to get there first and they want to enjoy it. It's a very um, sensorial sign. It's a fire sign. Again, a lot of passion there, but you have Venus there who's in a bad aspect with Saturn up here. So we have Venus at the end of Aries squaring Saturn at the end of Capricorn. So let's take a look at that. This makes it difficult for you in relationships. And this would have started when you were quite young, that it's hard for you to realize why somebody would like you. What would they see in me? Why would they want to be my friend? When
Yeah.
the whole world knows, Sherry, why we would all want to be your friend, because you're a beautiful person. So, but you as a young person, and especially as a child, always questioned that. And again, now this Saturn is removed from the yod. So it wasn't completely tied into the yod, but the Venus was, because Venus has a lot of connections with not only Saturn, but where did I see that there? Venus, Saturn, Sun, Mars.
I know my husband used to always say, "You're the most beautiful person I've ever met." And I'd be like, "Don't lie to me." There are a lot more beautiful women out there than me. And he'd be like, "Not to me." So,
But see, that's the way we were raised too. We
yeah.
were raised to be, don't toot your own horn. It's not ladylike to, talk
Well,
about.
and family issues as a child growing up, there was a good portion of the family that always treated me kind of second best. So I kind of grew up thinking, well, what's wrong with me? How come my cousins get special treatment and I don't? And it wasn't until I was a teenager that I found out the reasoning behind it. And by then I was old enough to say, well, F them.
That's Eris. That's Eris coming to the
you
rescue.
know.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
yeah. But I
well,
still fight with issues of self-esteem, you know. I
yeah.
still can't get over why anybody subscribes to my channel or watches me. It's just it blows my mind. It's like I'm
Well,
not the
that's a
best
step
reader in the
forward.
world and I'm still learning, but okay.
But that's a step forward. If you start with, I don't know why anybody would subscribe to me, and then you allow it to blow your mind, that's you accepting it and not rejecting it. And
Right.
eventually you will look at it and feel like, yeah, because I am offering something to my viewers. I am giving them something of value. So, okay. All right. So I hope people can hear me. Oh, please. Why am I having these issues with volume on things? Yesterday there was echoes. The day before there was too low. Now, Cleo the seer is in the chat, and she had a very relevant question. That if I did your chart a year from now, would it come out the same?
Oh,
Yeah, we're doing the birth chart, the natal chart. We're only looking at the chart that it was set in stone on the moment that you were born. If we wanted to find out about your future and what was going to happen, that's a different set of charts that I would do. And that would be for like a future forecast chart. And that wouldn't be different. It would be laid on top of what's already there in your natal chart. When when you're dealing with current astrology, with current planets hitting your chart and affecting you, they will always only ever bring about what was promised in the natal chart. So if you didn't have it in your natal chart to say start a YouTube channel, no amount of, wishing and cards and burning incense would make that channel come about if it just wasn't promised there. But you have Saturn in the 10th house, and people with Saturn in the 10th house, it's almost in the 11th house, and it's Capricorn, are quite ambitious. They're very determined. They're very persistent. They stay in there. They have longevity. And it moves into your 11th house, which is governing groups of people, hopes, dreams, wishes, what you want to do when you get done with your regular job, what you want to move on to. And it's in the sign of Aquarius, which is the sign of the internet, really. So it doesn't surprise me that you've decided to move into the area of the internet and YouTube, and being a moon in Aquarius, you're trying to hit it for everybody's highest good, right? So that's all in your chart. It's all promised in your chart. Now, what happens by next year, I don't know, but so let's keep going with
You
this.
know what's weird too is because I've always been kind of shy until I
Uh-huh.
get to know people, and then you can't shut me up. But when I first started doing, I used to have this phobia about somebody aiming the camera at me. You know, it was like, no, don't look at me. But when I started doing this, it just felt like the round peg going in the round hole. It just like fit, and it was like, okay,
Yeah.
all right, this is kind of cool. I don't
Yeah.
get this feeling very often. It just seemed to fit. So
Yeah, well, I think, as women, we do struggle. Most of us do struggle with image and confidence all the way up until like our 40s. And then somewhere around the mid 40s, we either get the idea that it doesn't matter, or we don't care what other people think, or we just accept who we are. And by the time you hit your 60s, you're like, I don't have time to worry about that stuff. I am what I am. I come on camera if my hair's limp and looks like a rag doll. So what? This is my hair. This is me. This is what I look like, and this is who I am. Because people, especially in this community, are not necessarily tuning in to see a beautiful face. They're tuning in rather to get whatever they came for, to get a reading, to get reassurance, to get the love, to get the community, to get spiritual information, to get the astrology, to get the tarot cards, whatever. They're tuning in for a much, I would say, higher purpose than just oh, she's cute and I want to listen to her talk. there's a lot of channels who do that. Um, and that's great. And I wish them well. And they do have millions of subscribers because they have, the long nails and the false eyelashes and everything. And I wish I could do that, but I just can't. So I'm not wasting my time with that. All right, let's get on more with your chart. So now I'm going to turn my face off and just focus on the chart for right now. Let me see.
Okay.
Let me see if I can. I got to go into OBS to do this. I'm just doing that and
There
then
you
come
go.
here and then let's see if I can do this. Nope. This. Nope. This. Yeah. This. Okay. I guess that's what I got to do. All right. I thought I could make it bigger. All right.
Well,
So
take me out. You might be able to make it bigger and just make that the only thing.
I don't think I can.
Oh,
I yeah. So I
it was a
think
thought.
this is what I'm doing here. Okay. So let's look at let's see, we talked about Venus square Saturn here. And we talked about Venus in Aries and Saturn in the 11th house. So having Saturn in the 11th house and having this self-esteem issue makes it difficult because Saturn going into the 11th house would cause you to be a loner, would cause you to want to just do things on your own, only rely on yourself, don't really get involved with anybody else. And yet you have the moon in Aquarius, which is amplified by Jupiter. So you literally cannot live your life alone. You are really tuned in to humanity. You're tuned in to helping people. You're tuned in to the world order. So you literally cannot just exist by yourself. It's just an anathema. It's just
It's
not going to
lonely when you live alone.
even if you live alone, like look at what you do for work. You work in not just an environment where you come into contact with people who are different ages than you, which by the way is also in your chart, but you come into contact probably, I'm going to say, with thousands of people who are different ages than you. So it's on
And
a
different cultures and different
yeah,
religions and different colors and
exactly. It's on a mass level, which is so Aquarian. You are touching and interacting with people from just all over the place. They might as well be from other planets. You wouldn't care.
there are a few that probably are.
Yeah, not surprised. And they come to you. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. Oh my goodness, that's great. Now, your moon up here with Jupiter is also quite connected to your Saturn as well, because look how close they are, these three guys up here.
Yeah, I
So,
see that.
this difficulty in accepting yourself and your gifts, this also is being hindered by Saturn being connected here. Because Moon with Jupiter, usually a person with Moon conjunct Jupiter would understand and use their gifts just very naturally and just be like, what? Doesn't everybody do this? Yes, I can talk to animals, or, I hear messages from the trees, or, yes, I see that person who's a ghost walking across the lawn. Like their gifts would be just outrageously heightened and they would accept it and embrace it. But with the Saturn connected there, Saturn dampens things down. It brings things down to reality. It constricts things. It makes them more real. And so that reality is usually construed by children to mean I'm not strong enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm not smart enough, I'm not psychic enough, whatever. It just, that self esteem, it all comes back down to that self esteem issue. But you've had some years in your life to work on that and to build that up. And I'm sure you have. And I'm sure that even as you do this work on YouTube, I think that also helps you to accept your gifts and to understand your gifts and to lift it up, because you're really activating this Aquarian part of your chart, which is really how you love humanity. It's just how you love humanity. It's how you love people. And so nothing's going to hold you back from that. The closer you get to opening up that little door that says, I'm really good at this, aren't I? As soon as you can open up that door, it's not like you're going to get a big head or anything. It's just that you're going to be like, Wow, I can't wait to do this for a million people. So it's coming, Sherry. It's definitely coming.
Won't that be fun?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now, let's see. Very emotional. We talked about that. Understanding social problems. We talked about that. Defensive. Okay. So the Saturn thing can make you defensive, very cautious, very reserved, extremely, extremely sensitive. And basically, this aspect says, this did not prepare you for life as you knew it as a child. So I would not be surprised at all if you did have some traumas from childhood about trying to cope with things, and maybe even some kind of bad traumas that we won't even talk about here. But, some things that you just had no tools to deal with these things, and they were hidden. The Chiron is there in your 12th house. That's things that are hidden. It's also this house of self sabotage. You've got a few other little goodies there too. One of them is the asteroid Juno. So you said you were married before, right?
Yeah, I was married
Okay, just
in
once. No.
83 and he passed in 2001. So,
Okay, so the person who becomes the marriage partner, that that is also somewhat problematic because this this became a he was different at the end, right?
yeah, well, he was injured, severely injured, so he was totally disabled, and uh, his health had started really declining the last year he was alive. So it was hard. But
So very similar to you, this very very impactful injury that really defined how his life ended up. Same as you, right? So this was
right,
sort of a karmic bond with the two of you. Pluto very often indicates a karmic bond with somebody, and Pluto is pretty much in opposition to this planet that represents your marriage partner. So I'm not surprised. And also, 12th house, that would be someone who has to be kind of shut away, can't really do for themselves, can't really go out in the world.
and he was a Gemini too.
Oh, was he? Isn't that interesting? Very,
Yeah,
very
he was
interesting.
May 25th. So yeah, we were only like a little over a week apart in our
Oh,
birthday.
wow.
Of course, he had 6 years on me, but still, um,
Yeah, but June was fun for you guys, huh? Birthday
uh,
time.
he used to laugh and say, between the two of us, we had four people living together. I was
Yeah,
like,
well,
yeah,
that's what it's like with Gemini. They are like two or three different people.
yeah,
Now, you do have something in the lower part of your chart that I want to point out is Mars conjunct Uranus. Now, let me just take a look at this little note here. Yeah. So, your Mars is quite strong. First of all, it's in Leo. That's not the strongest sign for Mars, but it does make a very powerful Mars. And Mars is your energy, it's how you express anger, it's how you assert yourself in the world, and it's in the house for how you have fun in the world, but also for children. So you've got Mars conjunct Uranus. Uranus is chaos and energy and electricity and sudden changes. So when you decide to have fun, it's sudden, it's a big change. It can be a little chaotic. It can be very unusual. It can take people off guard. It can just really surprise them. But that is kind of your antidote to this other yod energy that just sets you off kilter and makes you feel uncomfortable most of the time. So when you're ready to have fun, you're like, okay, just blow the barn doors off because I'm doing what I need to do to have fun. It
that
also,
sounds like me. Yeah,
yeah, right. It also informs just how you go about achieving goals because you don't let anything stop you. So you've got this back injury, you don't let it stop you. You deal with it. You come hell or high water, you're going to do what you need to do no matter what. And that kind of attitude is also going to help you ultimately, I feel, find a an even better solution to what's going on, because I mean the medical community is changing and discovering things all the time. There's
Right.
miracles happening every day, and I have no doubt that you're going to be in line for one. So
Good. I'm ready for
yeah,
one.
right. Yeah, you're ready for that one, right?
That's
Make
it.
that one come true, Miss Colleen. Okay.
That's what I told my surgeon. I go back and see him next month to get the results from the MRI. And I was like, if there are any alternatives to surgery, said let's explore those first. And
Yeah.
then we'll talk surgery. But I don't want to do back surgery if I don't have to. I watched my husband go through 5 of them, and it just kept getting worse. It was like, yeah, I really don't want to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, this Pluto down here, especially connected to the North Node, this also impacts the way you approach your work. So whatever job that you're ever in, you're very intense about it. You will learn as much as you possibly can about it. You will work very hard, very intensely. You'll forget to get up and eat lunch or go to the bathroom or anything. You'll just be very doggedly getting through your work and enjoying it. It's the kind of I'll use a 60s word here. It's the kind of groove that you really enjoy. You know, when you set your mind to a task, it's pleasurable for you to accomplish that task and to conquer whatever that unknowable thing was. That makes you very proud of yourself. It makes you feel very satisfied and very productive. So that Pluto does serve a purpose, even within the yod. And that moment when you are feeling that you have accomplished this thing is a moment where the uncomfortability and the awkwardness kind of slides away a little bit. And you get to feel comfortable for a moment or two or three. But it's that and all of us who have yods, I also have a yod in my chart. They're actually not that common to have because they have to be really exact degrees, and yours is pretty exact. But in your life, in the latter half of your life, the part of your life that you're in now, the yod energy is usually one that you probably have conquered, and you probably are very attuned to it, and you've dealt with it, and you've found workarounds to it. So I don't think all the time that you're thinking about this uncomfortability except in terms of your back. So of course that you have to think about all the time because you have to make sure that you manage it all the time. But the idea of having to manage it, that part of the uncomfortability, that you've come to terms with. And that probably is because we've got Pluto involved with this, and because you have an outlet and a job that you feel really valued at, and because you're at a university where you're working with people of different ages and you're helping for the greater good. All of those things combined go together to help you understand your yod energy and to work it out and to use it for a very positive result. Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, it's very
I
cool.
do. I love my job. I mean, it can get tedious at times because I sit at a computer and do spreadsheets all day, but and it's just kind of busy work a lot of times. But I love being there. I love the people I'm around. I like the people I work with, even though some of them can be a pain in the butt sometimes. But altogether, yeah, I really enjoy it. I enjoy the kids when they come by and pop in and come grab a candy out of my candy bowl and talk to me for a few minutes. And um, so I get a really big charge out of that they like to come visit me. No
Yeah,
reason, just because they're in the building. So they're going to pop in and say hello. And most of them think it's the coolest thing ever that I have a YouTube channel. Um, Several of them are subscribed.
cool. Very
Which
cool.
again kind of blows my mind. Is like, wow, okay. Um, so yeah, I mean that's kind of cool. It's
Yeah, and it feeds your soul. It literally feeds your soul. So it's a
yeah,
nice cycle that you've set up for yourself. That's really really good. Now, we also have here now this remember Pluto to the moon and Jupiter, that was 150 degrees, and Mercury was 150 degrees. But down here with Mars, now Uranus, I don't think is a part of this. Let me just check my notes here. No, it's not. That's good. So we have an opposition, which is 180 degrees, half the circle. So we have the moon in opposition to Mars. Now, this can make a person rather tense, but also indecisive. Like you have the impulse to do it, but you're not quite sure that you should. And
Yeah.
so that can make someone edgy, can make you just feel like, like constantly on edge. But also, when you do make decisions and do things, because you're just saying, okay, I made up my mind, I'm going to do it now, it can come off to other people as almost ruthless, when what they don't, because what they're seeing is that energy, that spurt of energy going towards the decision, and they don't see the indecision leading up to it. So, you probably from time to time have had people tell you that, oh my God, that was, not that they're afraid of you, but that they were just like, whoa, what was that? So I'm sure that you've experienced that. And also, it
Oh
may
yeah.
it may give you the tools to deal with conflicts in the home, that you can really shut down things when they're getting conflicting. It may come across as bossy, but it's your home, and you know how to keep it peaceful and cool, which is to not allow anybody else to play with their monkeys in the house.
I
So
tend to play negotiator all the time. It's
yeah, yeah,
everybody go to your corners, take a deep breath, because physical conflict of any kind, when people are getting angry with each other, makes me physically ill. I mean, I
yeah,
physically get ill. And it was like I avoid it at all cost if I can. And if things get heated around me, then I go into negotiator mode and okay, everybody sit, everybody calm down. What do you need? What do you want? What are you
yeah,
pissed about? And that's just a natural. I've always done that for as
yeah.
far back as I can remember.
Well, and it's kept your family together to do
Yeah.
that. It's allowed them to live together in peace. Now, the moon being conjunct with Saturn, it's a stabilizing factor to somebody who has moon in Aquarius. Moon in Aquarius can be a little bit quirky and eccentric, but the Saturn part of it brings you down to earth, makes you very stable, very honest, and the person that you don't trust is yourself. Ironically, you may trust other people, but you don't always trust yourself. And
Yeah.
this moon in Aquarius at times can come across as somewhat aloof or reserved, and it may make it hard for you to express emotions. But another part of it is, you mentioned that your partner was 6 years older than you, and that's kind of a trait of people with moon in Aquarius, and especially when Saturn's involved, is that you'd have an older partner in life. Now, planet we haven't spoken about yet is Neptune, which is up here in Scorpio, and Neptune is doing a real beautiful square here to your moon. So spirituality is what Neptune represents, and that's where you go when you're unsure of things. You have a need to search for the truth. That also goes back to your moon in Aquarius. You are a searcher, a seeker of truth. And sometimes life, when it feels confused or chaotic, or you have unrealistic desires that you're recognizing, you know that you can go within. You realize that you have the tools to go within, and that's where you come up with a different idea or a different perception about whatever issue you're trying to resolve. um, you also are very good at assessing other people and their difficulties. So you flip this onto other people a lot of the times too. Kind of play psychiatrist with them a little bit, but more in the zone of being more of a advisor, a spiritual advisor. So that's where you're really headed with. I think that's where you're headed with all of your YouTube stuff too. Um,
Cool.
so this can be difficult for other people to receive, because your insights are really quite spot on. And some people are not quite ready to hear that very insightful uh, view or perspective on them. So you'll take a while to develop this and to develop your bedside manner so that you can deliver these things in a way that people can hear them, because you are a sensitive soul and you do pick up when people are uncomfortable. It's not like you don't know what's going on. It's just you are you and you have your personality, but you will develop more and more and more of this bedside manner where you can deliver really difficult information to people and they will be able to hear it because you're giving it with love and you're giving it from a spiritual perspective. So that's what I see where you're going. Mercury, this Mercury that's so all important in your chart. Mercury rules this house where Pluto is. Mercury rules the house where your sun is. And Mercury is on this is called the ICMC axis. The four houses that are the most important in astrology are number one, which is your rising sign, the house right across from it, number seven, which is the descendant, the what do I say, the lowering sign? No, the descendant sign. And then number four, or the IC, which is your home and family. And number 10 up at the top where it says MC, that's your career and the public and what you leave behind in this lifetime. Those are the four really important houses. And Mercury is ruling this house underneath the descendant where Pluto is. And Pluto is always a really important planet. So Mercury is, no, I just had my eyes on this little note and then I lost it. Where did it go? Mercury. Okay. So Mercury, um, connecting here with Mars by sextile is giving you very broad interests, very like a huge sphere of interest. And you need to have an exchange of ideas and experiences and things in your life, or you really get bored. So, this job that you're in is kind of perfect for you because you're always exchanging ideas with the students. You really like the tasks that you have to do in your job. It's challenging, it's mentally stimulating, and so you don't get bored. Because if you got bored, you'd it wouldn't be pretty. It wouldn't be good.
That's why I changed my major like a dozen times when I was in college.
Yeah,
I
I'm
kept
sure.
getting bored until I got to the point where they were like, you have to graduate now. You have too many hours.
Yeah,
You don't have enough in any one thing. So we're going to toss you to general studies. And that's what I wound up getting my degree in, because I had lots of stuff, but not enough in any one thing. The most I had in any one thing was in psychology and sociology. I took a lot of psych
wow.
classes. And
Yeah. Oh, that's
so,
good.
yeah,
That's good. That psychology is going to come in very handy as a spiritual advisor.
I
Um,
loved it. I loved taking the psych classes. I just couldn't do the foreign languages.
And Mars also has a square with Neptune, so we've got a little T square action going on here. Now T squares also produce tension because they need somewhere for the energy to go. So you've got Mars in Leo, which is very strong, which can make you kind of bossy at times, but it's opposing the Moon and Jupiter, so there's a tension there, and then it has this square to Neptune. So this all focuses on fantasy and spirituality. So while you may be a fantastic interior decorator, you you also have a lot of energy, spiritual fantasy energy, artistic energy, a lot of energy that needs to get expressed in a very down to earth way. So if you do end up finding another partner, it might not be a romantic partner, or it may be a romantic partner in your life. See if you can find someone who's an earth sign like a Taurus, because that would allow you to have an outlet for this T square energy, which would relieve some anxiety and tension in your life. And it would give you an outlet for a more artistic or spiritual expression, a creative expression that would really, really serve you quite well. Okay, let's see. What else do we have here?
I don't think I know anybody that's a Taurus
Well, you
off
probably
the top
haven't
of
met
my
them yet.
head.
You probably haven't met them
Yeah, I
yet.
probably just haven't met the person yet. So
Yeah. So, do you have any questions for me? Because I think I've kind of covered everything.
no, I mean it's just amazing how the different things you pull out, and I'm sitting there shaking my head, going, "Yep, yep, yep, that's me. Yep, that's what I do."
Oh, there is a
This stuff
couple of
is
little.
just fascinating to me. I don't understand any of it, but it's fascinating because yeah, I've seen other people get their charts read, and it's like, wow, they described you perfectly, like a textbook. And it's cool when you have it done for yourself because then you sit here and you're like, yeah, I do that. I didn't realize I did that. Okay.
Yeah. So I did find a couple of other little things that I missed. So with Saturn, Jupiter, and the moon all in the 11th house, this promises that groups and friends are a primary focus in life. Ironically, you don't need a lot of friends, but that moon in Aquarius likes to have a lot of acquaintances. A lot, and they call them friends, but really they're acquaintances. They're really on the outer circle.
Yeah.
With your little Mercury Cancer thing going on down here, you're going to have a very tight circle of true family and friends. In fact, your family usually are your friends for you. So that's really, really,
Most of the time.
yeah. You got to keep them in line. You have to keep them in line. That's for
Right.
sure.
When they
But
behave themselves.
and then this set of planets down here, the Mars and Uranus. One thing I missed is that in your youth, this is an indication of promiscuity. Okay. But it can also indicate that your children would be male.
Yeah, well, there you go. I only had one and he's a boy.
Yep.
He's an Aquarius boy.
And it also indicates that you would be a creative person who would enjoy performing. And what's YouTube but a performance, right?
Yeah.
So this is also there for you.
Yeah, I
And
did drama and speech and all that kind of stuff in high school. So,
and now you're
um,
using all of it.
exactly.
So the last thing that I want to talk about is that in the first house you have this little trifecta of planets that's very interesting. Venus is your feminine principle. This little guy, this little V looking guy, is Vesta. That little S thing is supposed to be a flame, the flame of the hearth of Vesta. And then this little weird looking guy, kind of like a backwards question mark with a cross on it. This is the asteroid Ceres. So Vesta and Ceres are both asteroids. And a lot of the asteroids really have a lot to do with female energy, various modes of female energy, where Ceres has to do with um, not the harvest, cereal, food, grains, the food industry, manufacturing food, taking care of food, things like that. Vesta has to do with the home, taking care of the home, protecting the home, being very vigilant with the home. Venus has to do with how we feel about ourselves as females when we're female, and also our money, our everyday money that we spend and that we earn, our beauty, how we feel about beautiful things, how we feel about our own beauty, what we think is beautiful. So, how we would do things. So, when we wrap all of this stuff all up together, I would say that you're probably a pretty good cook.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't particularly like doing it, but I'm fairly good.
Yeah.
They tend to eat everything in the pot, so I take that as a compliment.
That is a compliment. That is the first indication that things are really going there. Now, this 12th house, though, I did really kind of ignore that. I talked a little bit about Chiron in opposition to your Pluto, and that's the back issues and all of the things. Now, that's a trauma and an injury that as you heal from that and as you figure out what new modalities might be able to help you, you may be able to help others with that kind of issue, at least emotionally and spiritually, because I see this spiritual counselor thing as a real big theme in your chart. But these two planets, now we've talked about your marriage partner. That's Juno. That's the little thing that looks like a dandelion. And then the little thing that looks like a Venus with a pointy looking head, the diamond head, That's Juno, not Juno. That's Pallas Athena. The dandelion is Juno. This is Pallas Athena. And having Pallas Athena in a sign like Pisces means that patterns are mystical to you. That you look at certain patterns and you see mysticism, and you also see
Yeah.
um, spiritual messages perhaps in certain patterns. And so
Yeah.
I would explore that more if I were you. The more you get into being going within your higher self, your guides, your angels, things that you do in dream state, things that you do in astral, these patterns, the more you can capture them and maybe identify them for yourself or use them in your readings, the stronger of a reader I think you're going to be. A lot of mysticism and spirituality going on in your chart. So okay,
That's
so that's
it. I tend to look at everything I tend to always want to go to that explanation for things. That's what I
yeah,
think of first is
yeah.
mystical.
Yeah, and that's why you're doing this. So that's what I have to say. Now it's only 4 o'clock. Usually I take about 2 hours to go through somebody's chart because I go really in depth into all of these things, but I really didn't think that that would play very well on YouTube. So I kept it to an hour. Um, and I hope you found
Oh
it.
wow, we've been on for an hour.
Yeah.
Doesn't even feel like it's been that long. So
Good. That means you were interested. That means that you were really getting something out of it. That's great. So this is what I usually do when I do somebody's natal chart is I explain all of the planets and I explain the sun, moon, and rising and then their interrelationship because it's that relationship that really defines the individual. Because everybody's got a sun, moon, and rising, and they can only go together so many numbers of ways. I think it's like 2048 ways when you have 12 times 12 times 12 or something. But after that, you got to realize how many people there are in the world. There's got to be something else that defines it as individual, and this is what it is. It's the patterns between the planets. It's the angles, the geometric shapes that they create, and the angles between the planets that really make it the the right for the person. That really defines that individual. So, so there you
cool.
go.
So now y'all all know how painless it is to get your chart done. So you go to Colleen's channel, or you got a web page. You got a website,
I
right?
do. I do. I
Go to her
do.
website, go to her channel, and schedule to have a chart read for you.
Thank you.
That's how
Thank
she makes her living. One of the ways that she makes her living.
Yeah. So it's just thecoolcrone.com. And when you go on there, you can go to the book now tab and or you can go to services and just take a look at all the things that I do. Doing natal charts and future forecast charts are just, that's how I do astrology. So, yeah. And I'm always learning. Astrology is one of those things I've been doing it pretty much all my life. And
Yeah, I had a thing where I could go online and put in my pertinent data, and it sent me this chart and all this information and what planets you come from, and like in your past you supposedly you could trace like how many lifetimes you've been here and where you started. Were you Pleiadian? Were you this? Were you that? And when it got down to all that part, and I'm looking at it and it's blank, and I'm asking the person that does them, well, what does that mean? And she says, you're from the before time. I'm like, what the hell does
oh,
that mean? And she
nice,
says,
nice
you're
saying.
from before all of that was created.
I believe that.
I was
I
like,
can see
so as I was like, I my brain wouldn't comprehend it at the time. I was like, okay, I don't get
well,
this.
I think she's talking about. I hope I have this term right. The antediluvian era, where the planet was just gases and goo.
Yeah, I think that's what she meant.
Yeah.
Um,
Now that type of lifetime also exists on other planets and in the universe. I've regressed people where they've experienced lifetimes where they were just a ball of gas in the universe,
yeah.
near to a planet, but not necessarily on a planet. and it was a meaningful life. They could recall things from that life. It was crazy,
I know
but
about, I guess it was right around maybe 2005 to 2008, right in that area. There was a show on a paranormal. It was when internet radio first started happening, and there was a paranormal channel that would
yeah.
host different people. And one of the ladies was a psychic, and she would always have different people on that did different things in this world. And she had this woman come on that's a palm reader
Oh,
who actually went to England to some big school that they have there to test and train psychics, where she was tested for her palm readings. And they gave her like a 98% accuracy on
good
her
Lord.
readings. And I was like, wow. And so she was, because it was internet and still brand new and nobody was like face to face like we are, it was just, you just talked in the chat, and heard. And she was like, well, here's an email. If you want me to read your palms, take a picture of your hands and then send it to the email and I can look at the picture and read your palm. And so I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. So I took a picture of both of my hands because I wasn't sure which one she wanted to look at.
Yeah, because
And
there's a
when she read my thing, she was like, you're the oldest person I've ever seen. And I was like, excuse me. And she said, I've never met anyone with this many lifetimes. She's like, you have like over 20 lifetimes, probably a lot more. But she says, look at your hands. They're nothing but lifelines crisscrossing each other all over my hands. And I was like, wow. And then years later, I get you're from the before time. I'm like, and so the two linked up in my head. I was like, okay, I guess I can go with this. So, and then Scott did my Akashic Records reading, and he was pulling up some of the same stuff. Like, you come like from way back before, kind of like helping create all this stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. So, you know,
wow. So I guess that explains why you chose such an unusual life this time around.
that's the only reason I can figure is I wanted to be more into the mystical, to learn, because it was like I've always had gifts. And when I was a child, I just, I talked to God. That's what I called him, male voice. I heard him perfectly, like I hear you. He would talk to me and I would talk back. People would see me and say, who you talking to? And I'd be like, God. And they'd say, okay, and just let it go. And then other things over the years happened, but eventually I kind of shoved it all in the closet and convinced
Yeah.
myself it wasn't real
Oh,
until it came storming back out again and like, no, we're very real and you're going to pay attention now. So here I am.
wow.
And,
Very interesting. Very interesting. Wow. Well, thank you. Thank you very much for letting me do this, for letting me read your chart in front of
thank
all of
you for
you.
reading. It
You're
was a
welcome.
beautiful reading. And
Thank you.
it
Thanks.
explains a lot. Things that over the years that I've always kind of, well, why do I do that? I don't know why I always do that. It's okay. Now I know why. Um,
Yeah.
because
Well,
this
we're all,
planet is here in that house, and it's like, okay, that makes sense now. Now I know why it is.
yeah. And we're
Uh,
all works in progress. I mean, you
oh
don't
yeah,
stop learning until, the very end. So it's good to have more information, not less, because it can
yeah,
help you to adjust to what you're doing and help you accept it. And I think as we're all trying to raise our vibration, I think for me a big goal is to get rid of as much drama as possible. So
yeah,
the more that you can understand these things and accept them, deal with them, move on, the rather than fight them, the
Yes.
less drama you have and the more you understand what you're really here for, to help people. We're all here to
Right.
help each other. That's what it's
And
really all
that's, yeah, that's my big thing. It's like, as long as it's fun and as long as I'm helping and not hurting people, then I'm in this 100%.
about.
Um, I but it also, because of something that you said about spiritual mystic teaching or mentoring, or however you phrased it. And I thought, well, that explains why I get so interested in all these different things that people do.
Yeah.
That kind of like, this person specializes on this and this one on that. And it's like, I want to learn all of it because I never know who I'm going to be dealing with.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if I can find somebody to come on my channel that does something different, then I want them to come on so I can learn about it.
Yeah.
Kind of a shortcut. And
Well,
so that's a
yeah.
lot of fun. I
And
enjoy that. So
we're all kind of trying to be spiritual advisors of a sort, whether we're reading cards or palms or pendulums or, you know, the newspaper. We're all we're all trying to help each other in whatever way there is. So, and it does help to learn different techniques. It really
oh
does.
yeah. Oh
So
yeah. I
yeah,
mean,
it's a great impulse that you have
there are
there.
times when it's grabbing the pendulum because that's what I feel like will give me the right answer, or go to the tarot deck, or instead go to the oracle deck, or and like I've shared for the last couple of months, the mediumship stuff is starting to wake up, and it
Cool.
kind of hits me. It's very hit and miss, and I never know when it's gonna kick in, and suddenly they're talking in my ears, and I'm like, okay, wait a minute.
Well,
And
so as I was reading your chart and talking about spiritual consulting, that's really what I was getting to. That you're, in a couple of years, you're going to be running your channel much differently. You're going to be offering much different things to your audience, and it's gonna flow, really flow from you. And
that's
so
good to
this
know.
this period of time that you're coming through is just figuring out what why. I don't think you even need to know why it isn't flowing now. I think you just need to live and breathe and love yourself and love your gifts and just keep encouraging yourself, because we can say it a lot. Oh, Sherry, you're great. Oh, you do great readings. Oh, I love your channel. Well,
But if I don't believe it, it doesn't.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's got to come from within. It's
yeah.
really got to come from
And
within.
that's something that I'm learning to do,
Yeah.
is to accept what others say and say, okay, yeah, they're right. I just need to deal with it myself. And
Yeah,
it's hard sometimes to, you know,
it is.
and
But that's
and
part of the.
sometimes you get embarrassed if somebody starts going off to someone else about, oh yeah, but she's so good at this and she's so great, da 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 da. Da. And I'm like turning purple because it's embarrassing.
No, you know what? You got to keep telling yourself you are in exactly the right place at the right time. You are in the perfectly perfect place for where you're supposed to be spiritually,
Yes,
emotionally, in your life.
that
You
I
just
agree
got to be
100% with.
right here now, right where you are, and don't compare yourself to anybody else, because it doesn't do you any good. And before we go, I do see a couple of questions about astrology in the chat. I just wanted to answer. um Shockwave 43, yes, if you go to my website, thecoolcrone.com, I do natal charts and I do future forecast charts. I can do rectifications. That's if you don't know your birth time. I can go through a process, and that's a whole separate charge. It's a little bit expensive because it's a very difficult process to try to
Yeah,
figure out how where the moon was at certain times in your life, and then you can narrow down what your birth time might be. And I've had some success with that. So
I
um,
was lucky. My mother was kind of interested in this stuff when I was born, so she made a point of writing it all down in
good.
this little thing, and then she gave me years later, like, okay, here's your birth date, your birth time, and where you were, and so that's kind of cool because I can fill in those holes if I get asked. Well,
Oh,
what time
that's
were you
great.
born? You
That's
know, because I
yeah.
never really knew there was a difference. And because she made such a point out of making sure I knew my times, I made sure that my son knew his times.
Oh, good. That's
Because I
good.
know when I delivered him at like late in the evening, and I can remember the first thing I asked is, "What time? What time was he born? It's a little after 9. No, tell me the exact time." They thought
It
I
does
was
make a
nuts, but
difference.
you
Yeah,
know.
it does.
So he was like 9:41 in the evening, and so
Yeah.
after 18 hours of labor.
Oh, please. Let's not get into labor stories. Oh,
Oh
if
yeah,
anybody else has a question, if you put it in the chat, that would be great. And Heart Centered Tarot, I did check my email, but I'm not seeing anything new. I see the announcement that I'm live. I see something from a client, but I don't see anything that else. Maybe that's all that I was supposed to see. I don't know.
or it might be delayed. I sent myself something yesterday, and it took like an hour
Oh,
for it to go
oh
from my phone to my computer. I was like,
yeah.
"What the hell?"
Mercury retrograde. This has been
Tell me about it.
a really wicked Mercury retrograde, and the last two eclipses really, really powerful. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's been rough. So I got up at 5 o'clock this morning so that I could watch the coronation.
I
I'm
got up
so
at
proud of
6.
myself. Did you watch it?
Yeah, I watched bits and pieces of it as I was doing things.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, because I wanted to get a shower and get my hair washed because I hadn't washed it all week. So I usually only wash it once or twice a week because it just gets too dry. You
Yeah,
know, I got up this morning like, no, I got to go wash my hair. I can't stand it.
yeah.
And I've been making card flip videos, little like
Oh,
5 to 10 minute videos, just
uh-huh.
going through some of the decks. I got a new deck yesterday.
Oh, I have those. I love those. Yeah.
I didn't even realize they were tarot. I thought it was oracles,
Oh,
but I
those
got
are
them on sale from Hay House,
oh, good. Yeah,
and
because some of her
so
stuff is really expensive now because they're not making them anymore, but
it
some of
was. Colette Baron Reed was doing a special thing that I signed up for like a seminar type
yeah,
class,
yeah.
and to offer all the people that signed up for the class, they were offering a handful of different decks that you could
Oh,
get for like 50% or more off of the normal price. And I think I got this one for like 70% off or something like that.
nice.
And
Very nice.
I was like, "Ooh, that's a nice one." And so,
It is. They're very large. They're kinda hard to shuffle.
yeah,
So, you have to kind of do it
yeah,
parts
that's
of it
this
at a time.
deck here. It's huge.
Oh gosh.
Oracle of Shadows and Light.
Yeah.
And
Oh, wow.
that's actually a really cool deck. I mean,
Yeah,
I can't wait to do a flip through on that. I think it'll surprise people. But
yeah. Oh,
yeah,
cool. Alright, well, it
so
doesn't look like anybody's throwing out any other astrology questions, so I think we're gonna wrap this up, and again, thank you so much, Sherry. This was
thank
really
you. I mean, this is
really good.
wow. I mean, very insightful. And there were,
Great.
like I said, quite a few things that I said here and go, "Oh, that's why I do that." Okay,
Yeah, cool.
that
Cool,
makes
cool.
sense. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, everybody, for coming.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you, everybody, and okay, Centered Tarot. Yeah, I'll check when it arrives, Mercury retrograde and all that. Okay. Alright.
I can make sure she's got the right email too.
Okay, okay,
Marina,
very
I'll send you her email. And
okay. Alright, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us,
thank
and,
you.
I hope you'll be bold enough to go and get an astrological reading, if not with me, with someone else, because they're really helpful. And
Yeah,
you should get. I think people should get one once a year. I think it's more important than a physical. Honestly, I think it's the most important thing you can do because a good astrologer can warn you about upcoming things that you may not even be thinking about and really, really save your butt. So So on that note,
Yeah, it just didn't say Sherry's getting a car on X date.
no, it won't tell you that. It won't tell you that. But my astrologer did predict that I was going to need to buy a major home appliance this year, and boy, was she right. I did, and it was a pain in the butt getting it replaced. But
well, I
okay,
still need a car, people. So if anybody knows any good deals on a car, really cheap,
okay, all right,
email me.
all right, okay, everybody. Thanks very much, and
Bye,
we'll see
everyone.
you. And thank you, Namaste.
Thank
We'll
you.
see you all later.
Yes.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you, everybody, for coming.